At 4 a.m., I discovered something amazing. My son buried what I unearthed changed our lives forever. As the sun crept up over the horizon, casting its golden hues across the small Midwestern town, Emily held the familiar warmth of her mother's old shovel. She stood in the garden, a sacred space once brought to life by her grandmother's loving hands. Each stroke of the earth soothed her weary spirit, but today the world felt a little heavier. Bills piled high on the kitchen table, and the gnawing tension of barely making ends meet clutched at her chest. With a grunt, Emily plunged the rusty shovel into the soil. Then bang! Her heart raced as the metal clinked against something solid. Curiosity bubbled within her. What could it be? She unearthed a small rusted box, dirt tumbling off it like forgotten memories. With trembling fingers, she opened the lid, revealing a treasure trove of paper doodles and sketches overflowing with imagination and hope. "Oh, Jake," she whispered, tears pricking her eyes as she recognized her son's artistic flair. There were superheroes striking heroic poses, drawings of their tiny home filled with love, and then, a letter, a heartfelt note that sent her heart soaring and plummeting all at once. Her son's handwriting looped across the page. "I want to help all the kids who don't have enough to eat. Let us do a food drive, Mom." Just then warmth flooded through her. The innocence of Jake's ambition ignited a fire of pride. But swiftly doubt seared through it. What if the community found out about their struggles? The gossip, the whispers, it felt like the chill of winter creeping into her bones. Emily recalled her grandmother's fierce resolve in hard times, a woman who never shied away from lending a hand. Determined to protect Jake's dream, Emily pushed her fears aside. Together they mapped out their plan, their kitchen table transforming into headquarters for the food drive. She watched as he put up flyers around town, his face lighting up with every new idea. But not everyone was kind. Some dismissed the idea with a smirk, their laughter like shards of glass against her resolve. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Time marched on, with each moment thickening the air with anticipation. As they began to gather supplies, an unexpected crisis emerged, a confrontation with a wealthy neighbor who sneered, "You're just asking for a handout." Emily felt the heat rise within her, and for the briefest moment, the weight of her fears threatened to swallow her whole. A mother's instinct wrapped around her, battling against the urge to protect her son from such harsh judgment. But somewhere deep inside, a defiant spark ignited. Determination surged through her veins. She had to stand firm for Jake, to usher in change for the entire community. Just when things seemed to be aligning, a new challenge loomed, and Emily stood on the brink of a decision that could change everything. Would she and Jake rise together against the looming shadows of societal judgment, and create a beacon of kindness that lit their small town? The answer was just within reach, the heart soaring with fearless hope as they prepared for the journey ahead. The morning sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the kitchen where Emily and Jake sat hunched over their notes. The scent of fresh coffee hung in the air, mingling with the sweet notes of hope and determination. Spreading out on the table were Jake's imaginative doodles, vibrant flyers, and a simple yet powerful vision that filled the room with an electric sense of purpose. "Mom, look. If we ask Mr. Howard from the bakery for some leftover bread, he might help us out." Jake's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, his child's optimism infectious. Emily nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "Great idea, buddy. Let's make a list of all the businesses we can approach," she replied, running her fingers through his hair gently. But even amidst the budding excitement, a shadow of anxiety barely whispered at the edges of her mind. She had never asked for help before. What if they turned them away, laughed at their intentions? Ignoring the doubts, they set out that afternoon, flyers in hand. Each doorbell rang louder than the last, echoing their hopes through the quiet neighborhood. Most responses matched Jake's contagious enthusiasm. People were intrigued, some even offered donations right then and there. But the laughter from one particular home still stung fresh in Emily's ears. After a long day, they returned home, bags filled with a kaleidoscope of non-perishable goods, their spirits dwarfed only by the soft thud of reality settling in. Just as Emily started to unload the first box, the doorbell interrupted. Emily glanced at Jake, who bounced on his toes, equally curious. She opened the door to find Clara, an older neighbor with gentle eyes and a reputation for cherishing community relationships. "Hi, Emily. I heard about your food drive and wanted to bring some things from my pantry. I have extra canned goods to share." Relief washed over Emily, and she invited Clara in. As they chatted about the food drive, Clara shared stories of her own struggles during tough times. "You know, dear, we all have our battles. It's beautiful what you and Jake are doing. There's too much negativity and so much more good being done quietly." Inspired by Clara's words, Emily felt the wall she'd unknowingly constructed crumble a little. They spent hours working together, shape-shifting the remnants of a once-empty dining room into a vibrant hub of community kindness. Later that night, Emily tucked Jake into bed. "Mom, do you think people will show up?" he murmured, his eyes flickering with a mix of excitement and worry. "Of course they will, sweetheart. They'll come," she replied, her voice steady despite the unknown echoing within her. As she closed the door, Emily's mind raced with thoughts. She knew the food drive meant more than just collecting items. It stood as a testament to the kindness that existed in their town, thriving right beneath the surface. She had to believe in that togetherness, but as they laid out plans for the event, a bell chimed in the silence, signaling the arrival of an unexpected letter. Its worn edges and creased folds beckoned her closer. Already, dread curled in her stomach as she unfolded it. A letter stamped with an official seal. It was from the city council. They had heard about the food drive, and the surprise lingered in the air. What would they demand? What restrictions might stifle their hope? Emily's heart raced. What if this was it? Their dream teetering on the edge before it had even begun. With her hands shaking, she read on, fear mingling with a flicker of curiosity. Would this be a help or an obstacle? In the silence, Emily felt it, the weight of change looming closer than ever. Could they rise above this challenge and turn it into an opportunity? The letter crinkled in Emily's trembling hands. She glanced at the clock, its hands moving too quickly, reminding her that time was not on their side. Taking a deep breath, she forced herself to focus on the dense words of bureaucratic language that seemed to tangle around her heart. She read aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. Due to recent community initiatives, the City Council is pleased to support local food drives. However, we must adhere to specific regulations regarding collection and distribution. Her mind raced with implications. Support? Wasn't that a hopeful twist? But regulations felt like chains tightening around their dreams, cold and unyielding. She continued, glancing over the list of demands that felt like a looming storm cloud over their efforts. Permits to apply for, safety guidelines to follow, and all that red tape. "Mom, are they going to stop us?" Jake's sleepy voice broke through her haze of worry. He was rubbing his eyes, confusion lacing his innocent brow. "No, honey, just follow some rules," she replied, forcing a smile. "It might help us." But deep down, the knot in her stomach grew tighter, whispering doubts. Would they still have the freedom to do this the way they envisioned? As the night wore on, Emily tossed and turned. Thoughts of the food drive circled her mind like restless fireflies. Could they rise above this? Ignoring the worry clawing at her, she ventured into her kitchen, the glow of the moon spilling silver across the countertop. She needed to think, to plan. That's it, she suddenly declared, startling herself. She could make a meeting with Clara and a few other neighbors. They could brainstorm the details together. The city council didn't own the community spirit. The next day, invigorated by her new plan, she called Clara. "Can we gather people? Go over this letter and figure it out? I think we can make it work." "Absolutely. Let us invite everyone," Clara cheered, her voice bubbling through the receiver as they organized the meeting. Word spread like wildflower sprouting after rain. Emily felt a spark of something electric, community joy. When the evening came, their living room overflowed with chatter and laughter, the air thick with hope. Neighbors shared ideas, tackling each regulation, flipping obstacles into stepping stones. They piled suggestions like bricks, building a sturdy structure of collaboration around the food drive. "Have we heard from the press?" An eager voice called from the back. "Maybe we can get a local paper involved?" Make our efforts known? Yes. Another piped up. If we can show the town what we're doing, maybe we'll find even more support. Emily watched them, her heart swelling. They were doing this together, and that meant everything. They were not just taking on restrictions. They were rallying hope and change. When they finally settled on a cohesive plan, the weight that had pressed down her shoulders lifted. Jake, watching wide-eyed, felt the energy buzzing through everyone. He grabbed her hand and whispered, "Mom, I think we're going to make it work." But as their meeting ended and they buzzed with excitement, a shadow flickered in the corner of Emily's mind. What if the energy didn't last? What if tomorrow brought setbacks instead of support? That night, Emily lay curled around Jake, her dreams peppered with visions of their food drive families gathered, hands united in kindness. Then, just as sleep started to pull her under, a recurring thought struck sharply. What if we're not ready for what comes next? She frowned, feeling a ripple of doubt wash over her. Would they really pull this off? What challenges awaited them? As sleep finally washed over her, she resolved to face whatever might come, one step at a time. The next morning, a sudden knock reverberated through the house, a crisp sound of urgency. Was this the moment they had been waiting for? Or the challenge that could change everything again? Emily's heart raced as she rushed to the door, the knock echoing in her mind. Taking a steadying breath, she opened it cautiously. Standing there was Mr. Anderson, their elderly neighbor, a frail figure wrapped in a coat that seemed too big for him. His eyes sparkled with excitement, catching the early light of dawn. "Good morning, Emily. You'll never believe what I found while digging in my garden," he exclaimed, brushing dirt from his hands. "What is it, Mr. Anderson?" Emily asked, curiosity piquing her interest. She had always found Mr. Anderson to be a little quirky, but this time he seemed genuinely animated. "It's a vintage tin box. I think it has something to do with the history of this very neighborhood," he said. "I thought perhaps you'd like to come take a look?" Emily hesitated for a moment. She had a million things on her plate, but the gleam in Mr. Anderson's eye was infectious. She nodded. "All right, let us see what you've discovered." They stepped into Mr. Anderson's backyard, which was still gray from the remnants of morning dew. He led her to a patch of soil near the back fence, where a small rusty box lay half buried. The corners were chipped, and the lid seemed to hold a secret that had been long forgotten. With trembling hands, Mr. Anderson pried the lid open. Inside they found a collection of old letters and postcards, all tied together with a fraying ribbon. "These must be decades old," Emily gasped, her heart racing at the thought of history peeking through the cracks of their everyday lives. "Right? And look at this." Mr. Anderson fished out a porcelain figurine, its delicate features slightly chipped but still beautiful. This could have been a family heirloom. Emily examined the box with a mix of nostalgia and curiosity. "We need to find out whose these are. This could lead to something special, something for our community, even a connection to the food drive." Mr. Anderson nodded vigorously. "Absolutely. We might discover stories that could inspire others. We should gather the neighborhood once more." Excitement bubbled between them, and on an impulse Emily suggested, "Let us invite everyone over today. We can unravel the mystery together." "That's a stellar idea. I'll bring my old photo albums. I bet they'll stir some memories," he replied, a new light igniting in his eyes as they returned inside. Emily's earlier worries faded like the mist outside. Ideas buzzed around in her mind like bees in a garden, and hope fluttered in her chest. Maybe this wasn't just about their food drive anymore. Maybe they had stumbled upon something bigger, a lasting connection that could deepen the roots of their community. After a whirlwind of phone calls, neighbors began to trickle in, drawn by the promise of a shared adventure. The atmosphere buzzed in anticipation, questions hanging in the air like the scent of fresh coffee brewing in the kitchen. As they gathered around the box, the air thickened with excitement and the unknown. Emily felt a rush of energy surging through her veins. This would become more than just stories. It felt transformative. Together they would connect in ways they never expected. Just then, Clara burst in with a whoop of joy, carrying a newspaper. "You'll never believe it, all this buzz got the attention of the local press. They want to cover our food drive." A collective cheer erupted, and Emily's heart swelled with pride. Didn't he stop there, though? In the midst of the cheers, a quiet voice whispered at the back of her mind. What were deeper stories hidden beneath these letters? Then she saw an envelope peeking out from under the postcards, a name she recognized. Would this lead them to someone unexpected, possibly even the original owner? The room dimmed around her as she clutched the envelope tightly, suddenly aware that this was just the beginning of something much larger than they could have imagined. And as they dived into the letters, one question hung in the air like a delicate thread. What if the past had left breadcrumbs that could reshape their future? Emily's fingers trembled as she carefully opened the envelope. It felt heavier than she expected, as if years of secrets were contained within its delicate paper. The room grew silent, anticipation rippling through the group gathered around her. Mr. Anderson leaned in closer, his breath held in a mix of curiosity and hope. The first letter was written in elegant cursive, fading with time. "My dearest Margaret," it began, instantly transporting Emily to another world, the world of the past, where this letter had once held great importance. The words flowed like a gentle river, speaking of lost love and dreams. Each line drew the crowd in as they were enraptured as she read aloud. The atmosphere thickened with emotion. Neighbors exchanged glances, some wiping away the beginnings of tears. People leaned closer, hanging on to every word, as if the story woven through decades reached out to them. But then something shifted. A sentence stood out starkly. "I fear our time together is numbered. Should fate be unkind, I leave this box for you, that we might be together again in spirit." Emily's heart dropped. Who were Margaret and her love? What had they been through? She could feel the weight of their story pressing on her chest, an echo of their hopes and heartbreak lingering in the air. "Do you know who they are?" Clara whispered, breaking the silence, her voice laced with awe. Emily shook her head, momentarily lost in thought. "I think we need to find out. This isn't just a story. It's a piece of someone's heart." Mr. Anderson nodded, the excitement and concern battling in his eyes. "I know a few older folks in the neighborhood. They might remember old families and stories. Let us gather their input." The group's energy surged, new purpose kindling in those gathered. A mural of shared experiences was waiting to be painted. Emily could feel it, the pulsing warmth of community, the laughter over forgotten tales, but also the undercurrent of something deeper. They continued through the box, discovering more letters, postcards peppered with images of people long gone but forever intertwined in the fabric of the neighborhood. Each find was met with stories, shared birthdays, losses, and love that never faded despite the passage of years. Yet one postcard caught Emily's eye. The ink barely visible, it depicted a small, quaint house that looked familiar. This house belongs to Mrs. Reynolds. She moved here decades ago. Could it be someone in her family? Or maybe it pointed towards a time and history lost, like breadcrumbs leading them to the heart of someone who once mattered. "Then we must talk to her," Mr. Anderson insisted, the urgency clear in his voice. Who knows what more she might reveal? As they discussed the next steps, a vibrant energy unfurled in the room, contagious laughter and eager chatter reviving the space. The mundane worries of the day faded, replaced by the thrill of potential connections awaiting discovery. But beneath the excitement, Emily felt a flicker of unease. It was one thing to uncover stories, it was another to confront the past. What if they dug up pain instead of joy? "No matter what we uncover," she said, her voice steady, "I believe it will bring us closer. We owe it to them to remember." But as she spoke, her heart whispered something else. What if the truth was more than they bargained for? And so as evening fell, they prepared to broach the past, ready to embrace whatever it might reveal. Would they find love that echoed through time? Or would they unveil shadows that could haunt their lives? The answers lay just ahead, waiting to be uncovered. The next day dawned chilly but bright. Emily pulled on a worn sweater, excitement coursing through her as she made her way to Mrs. Reynolds' house. It was beautiful, a timeless beauty, draped in climbing ivy, with a front porch that begged for stories to be shared. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her mission, the hope of connection guiding her steps. Mr. Anderson had gathered the group at the old woman's doorstep. Clara tossed nervous glances while Jake fiddled with his camera, keen to capture any moment that might unfold. They had transformed from mere neighbors into something more, a tight-knit community eager for discovery. As the door creaked open, Emily was met with the warmth of Mrs. Reynolds' smile, tinged with years of memories. "Hello, dears. What brings you to my old home today?" Her voice held the kind of kindness that enveloped the room instantly. "Mrs. Reynolds," Do you remember the McAllister family? Emily asked, her heart racing with hope. The older woman paused, her eyes narrowing in thought. Margaret McAllister? My word, she and her love Thomas. Their story was the talk of the town. Such passion, such sorrow. Tell me, why do you ask? Emily shared the tale of the box and the letters, her words spilling out eagerly. With each detail, she saw Mrs. Reynolds' expression shift, nostalgia flooding her features. Margaret was a dear friend, she murmured. We spent many evenings talking of dreams and love. But their love was complicated, filled with heartache. And the box? Do you know what it held? Clara chimed in, her eyes wide. Mrs. Reynolds paused, a shadow passing over her face. Oh dear, it was rumored she had left something precious behind, something that was meant to bridge the gap between the past and the present. Many thought it was a secret promise. What kind of promise? Jake interjected, leaning forward eagerly. A glimmer of mischief danced in the elder woman's eyes. They believed it contained a key to understanding not only their love but their lives. It connected dots between families, long-forgotten truths that could rattle the very foundation of our small town. Emily felt a thrill of apprehension. And do you know if anyone found it? Or what it revealed? Mrs. Reynolds shook her head slowly, her silver hair catching the light. No, my dear. I think it was lost to time. But if you're looking for echoes of the past, they may still linger. You might need to dig deeper into their story. The group exchanged glances, each one feeling the weight of what that might entail. We're willing to look, Emily said, surprising herself with her firmness. We want to help honor their legacy. Then you must begin at Thomas S. old house across the street. Mrs. Reynolds pointed with a shaky finger, revealing a faded memory. It was abandoned for years. I believe the answer lies within. Follow the whispers. With determination igniting their spirits, the group left Mrs. Reynolds' house. Each step toward the McAllisters uncertain but charged with possibility. Emily's heart raced as they approached the dilapidated structure. It was overgrown and inviting, a hint of the past peeking through cracks in its walls. As they crossed the threshold, shadows of memories awaited. But would they find joy or reveal wounds too deep to confront? Ready? Jake asked, his face alight with fervor. Taking a deep breath, Emily nodded. Let us see what the past is hiding from us. But just as she stepped inside, a voice rang through her mind, the soft echo of a promise unmade. What would unravel in the dim light of the forgotten home? Would old love stories whisper the truth they sought? Or might they awaken sorrows best left buried? The air inside the McAllister house was heavy with dust and the musty scent of forgotten time. Sunlight struggled to pierce the dark corners, and Emily's heart pounded in her chest with both excitement and apprehension. As they ventured deeper, the creaking floorboards seemed to whisper stories of the past, stories of laughter, love, and sorrow. Clara moved along the walls, lightly trailing her fingers over the peeling wallpaper. This place feels alive, she said softly, her voice barely a whisper. Emily nodded, feeling a shiver run down her spine. It was as if the house itself was welcoming them back, inviting them to uncover its hidden secrets. They stepped into what appeared to be the living room, where remnants of a once happy life lingered in the form of an old rocking chair and a faded photograph hanging crookedly on the wall. Jake lifted his camera, capturing the scene, but Emily was drawn to a cabinet in the corner. She opened it cautiously, revealing dusty books and trinkets, fragments of lives once vibrant. Look at this, she exclaimed, pulling out a small jewelry box covered in intricate carvings. The group gathered around as Emily carefully lifted the lid. Inside lay a collection of letters, yellowed with age and neatly tied with a frayed ribbon. Clara gasped softly, her eyes wide with wonder. Do you think these are from Margaret? Maybe, Emily replied, her fingers trembling slightly as she reached for an envelope. It could be a window into their world. As she unfolded the first letter, the warm, intimate words danced off the page. The letters revealed the blossoming romance between Margaret and Thomas, filled with dreams, promises, and an undeniable connection. With each line, Emily felt the weight of their emotions. Yet, there was an underlying current of longing that hinted at the struggles they faced. This is incredible, Jake murmured, flipping through the remaining letters. It's like a diary of their love. But then Emily came across a letter that felt different. The ink was smudged, the writing shaky. It spoke of heartache, secrets, and a fear that echoed across the years. As Emily read the final lines, chills prickled her skin. I fear this love is destined to be buried. Just like the stories of our family, she read aloud. Clara's brow furrowed. What do you think it means? Was there something more between them? Maybe it wasn't just romance, Jake suggested, his voice low. What if the key that Mrs. Reynolds mentioned isn't just a physical object but a resolution to their ups and downs? Emily felt a surge of determination. Then we need to find out what that resolution was. There must be something more in this house. With the letters clutched tightly in her hands, she glanced around. There had to be clues, hidden spaces, overlooked corners. A heartbeat of history pulsed beneath her feet, urging her to dig deeper. I think we should check the upstairs, maybe there's a bedroom or something else, Clara suggested, her voice heavy with the weight of shared anticipation. As they ascended the creaky staircase, the chill in the air intensified. The world outside faded away, leaving only the echoes of the past ringing in their ears. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched thinly before them, lined with closed doors waiting to be opened. Emily's breath caught in her throat. What if they found something that would change everything? Would they uncover the truth behind the McAllister legacy? Just then, a floorboard creaked beneath them, as if the house itself sighed. Emily turned to the others, her heart racing. What if it's not just about them? What if it's about us too? A sudden noise from behind one of the doors caught their attention, a soft thud, followed by silence. The group exchanged wary glances, their hearts racing with a mix of fear and excitement. Did you hear that? Jake whispered, eyes wide. Emily swallowed hard. Yes. Let us find out what's waiting for us. As they approached the door, the air crackled with tension. What would they discover on the other side? Would it be a revelation or a reminder of wounds that hadn't healed? With one deep breath, Emily turned the knob, ready to confront whatever lay beyond. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit room that had once been a bedroom. Dust motes floated in the slant of light that spilled through a grimy window. Old furniture loomed in the shadows, a wardrobe, a bed frame, and a small writing desk, all draped in white sheets like ghosts watching over their secrets. Emily stepped inside, her heart racing with a mix of fear and exhilaration. Clara followed closely, peering into the corners as if expecting to find something incredible hidden there. Jake stayed at the threshold, holding his camera up, the lens capturing everything that unfolded in front of him. Wow, look at those curtains, Clara breathed, pointing to the tattered fabric that drooped sadly by the window. They must have been beautiful once. Emily nodded, her attention drawn to the small desk. It looked untouched, as if the last person to use it simply vanished. She approached it cautiously, glancing back at Clara and Jake. Do you think there's anything left inside? Only one way to find out, Jake replied, stepping in beside her. Emily took a deep breath and pulled the drawer open. It stuck at first, but with a little persistence it slid out, revealing a stack of journals stacked haphazardly inside. They were thin, the covers worn but still intact. Emily's fingers tingled with anticipation as she lifted one. Its spine cracked just enough to hint at the secrets inside. Let us read one, Clara urged, leaning in close. Maybe these will tell us about the house, about Margaret and Thomas. With trembling hands, Emily opened the journal and began scanning the neatly penned words. Her eyes widened when she read the first entry. Today was the day we met. My heart soared, but the world around us trembled. Each line was filled with passion and fear, detailing moments of joy but also hints of struggle and societal pressures. This is incredible, Emily whispered, almost afraid to raise her voice. She could feel each word pulling her deeper into Margaret's life. A life fraught with unfulfilled dreams. Suddenly, a rustling sound interrupted their quiet. Clara jumped, eyes darting around the room. Did you hear that? Emily nodded, heart racing once more. The sound seemed to echo off the walls, lingering in the still air. It sounded faint, a voice perhaps, but too distant to discern. Let us check it out, Jake suggested, stepping toward the door cautiously. No, wait, Emily exclaimed. What if it's something important here? Clara's gaze shifted between Emily and the door. What if it's just the wind? Or something? Jake murmured, his curiosity clear. Emily hesitated. They were on the verge of unearthing something monumental about the McAllisters, something that might not just explain their history but illuminate their own lives. But what if they were interrupting something that was meant to stay buried? She clutched the journal tightly, feeling the weight of its pages and the stories it held. "We can't leave now. This could be the reason we're here," she said finally, determination flooding her voice. With renewed focus, Emily returned to the journal. But the rustling grew louder, echoing through the hallway as if someone or something was urging them out. Clara's eyes were wide with uncertainty, but Emily's resolve only grew stronger. Unbeknownst to them, the room around them held more than just dusty memories. It held a truth, one that could change everything they thought they knew about their family's legacies. "What if there's more to this house than we're realizing?" Clara whispered, an idea blooming in her mind. "Then let us find it," Emily replied. The weight of history was heavy, but so too was the anticipation of discovery. As a distinct thud resonated through the walls again, they knew that whatever lay beyond was more than just a voice, it was a call to action. With the journal in hand and courage fueling her steps, Emily led the charge outside the room, their hearts racing together. What awaited them in the rest of the house? Would they uncover a hidden truth? Or would the house keep its secrets just a little longer? The tension rippled through the air as they ventured further, the past beckoning them with unyielding force. What awaited them at the end of the hall? The hallway was long and dim, the floorboards creaking beneath their feet as they stepped cautiously forward. Emily could feel the anticipation building in her chest. The journal was still clutched tightly in her hand, the words she had read spinning in her mind like a whirlwind. Each line felt like a thread connecting her to Margaret, the woman who had poured her heart onto those pages. "Did you hear that?" Clara whispered, stopping abruptly. The rustling sound had turned into a soft thump, resonating from deeper within the house. Jake had his camera primed, ready to document whatever might unfold, his eyes wide with both excitement and fear. "Maybe it is just the wind," Jake said, but his voice lacked conviction. They all knew there was more to it than that. "It could be someone's voice," Emily suggested, noting the shiver that traveled down her spine. The thought sent her heart racing, not from fear but from a burgeoning sense of discovery. What if someone is still in the house? What if they can tell us everything? Clara nodded, her eyes sparkling with the thrill of the unknown. "Then we need to find out who or what it is," she said, stepping forward, emboldening Emily to follow. The trio moved deeper into the shadowed hallway, each step echoing through the quiet corridors. Memories lingered here, whispers of laughter, sorrow, and promises made long ago. Emily felt a strange connection to the house, as if it recognized their presence and wished to share its secrets. As they neared the end of the hall, an old door stood slightly ajar, a flicker of light escaping through the crack. The rustling they had heard earlier turned into a series of soft thuds, seemingly urging them to venture inside. "I'll go first," Emily volunteered, taking a deep breath. She pushed the door open and stepped into a room that was filled with golden light. The remnants of a living area lay before them, dust swirling in the rays from a window that framed an incredible view of the woods beyond. "Oh my God, look!" Clara gasped, pointing to the far wall. There, hanging crookedly, was an old photograph, its edge frayed and barely clinging to its frame. Emily squinted, heat rising to her cheeks as she recognized the figures Margaret and Thomas, vibrant and alive. "Is that?" Jake whispered, leaning in to get a closer look. The frost of history melted for a moment, as if time had folded back on itself. "Yeah, that's them," Emily said, breathless. "They look so happy." As they moved closer, the background of the photo revealed a similar room to the one they were standing in, now lost to dust and time yet bursting with stories waiting to be told. Clara reached out, her fingers brushing the frame lightly, as if afraid of shattering the moment. What if this was their favorite place? She mused, her voice almost a whisper. Suddenly, Clara gasped, pulling back sharply. "Did you feel that?" The air in the room shifted, colder somehow. "What do you mean?" Jake asked, turning to look at her with growing concern. "There was a chill like someone walked through us," Clara said, her breath hitching in her throat. Emily looked around, a thrill of fright and curiosity coursing through her. Images flashed in her mind, visions of Margaret and Thomas living, loving, and perhaps hiding something. "We can't leave now," she insisted. "We need to uncover more." "You really think we'll find something?" Jake asked, uncertainty creeping in. "Maybe more than we expect," Emily replied, feeling the weight of the journal in her grasp. "Whatever that rustling was, it's connected to this. We're meant to be here." Just as she spoke, another distinct noise echoed, Louder this time, right behind the old photograph. The sound jolted them, excitement flooding her veins. What was that? The ground beneath them seemed to tremble, and the very walls of the house appeared to listen. Did the house wish to share its burdens, its hidden truths? What lay beyond the photograph awaited their discovery. Curiosity and trepidation hung thick in the air. Emily took a step forward, her heart thrumming wildly. But what if what they found was more than a story? What if it changed everything they thought they knew about their families? With a deep breath, she reached out toward the photograph, ready to peel back the layers of time and truth. What awaited them in this forgotten room? Would they find more journals? Or something even darker lurking in the shadows? With a gentle tug, Emily lifted the edge of the photograph. It tilted slightly, and to her surprise, she felt a rush of air, almost like a breath escaping from within the wall itself. The rustling sound returned, louder and more insistent. Clara and Jake exchanged wide-eyed looks, and for a moment, the room felt charged with anticipation. "Do you think there's something behind it?" Jake asked, his voice barely a whisper, his camera poised and ready. Emily nodded, her heart pounding in agreement. "We need to find out." As she carefully pulled the photograph away from the wall, a hidden compartment flickered into view, its edge just barely visible, worn and faded like the memories it held. The thudding noise softened, almost a quiet coaxing, urging them to dig deeper. Emily felt a thrill of determination wash over her. This could be it, the key to understanding the McAllister legacy, to entwining their past with the community's pulse today. With shaky hands, she pressed her fingers against the wooden panel, searching for a latch. It felt cold, almost alive, a history waiting to be unveiled. Suddenly there was a soft click, and the panel swung open effortlessly, revealing an alcove filled with neatly rolled documents and wooden keepsakes. Clara shrieked with delight, capturing the moment as Jake stood beside her in wide-eyed wonder. "Look at all this," he exclaimed, kneeling down to pick up an old ornate box. It was beautifully crafted, embellished with carvings resembling vines and leaves. "I can't believe they left this here." Emily reached for the documents first, each one encased in delicate parchment, folded with care. She could feel the energy surrounding them, as if the stories were begging to be released. Carefully, she began to unfold one, her breath hitching at the sight of familiar handwriting. "It's from Margaret," she mumbled, her eyes scanning the words rapidly. "She talks about her dreams, her worries, and the food drive." "What?" Clara leaned in closer, curiosity etched on her face. She knew about it? Yes. She felt a deep connection to helping others. "It's like she understood what we're doing." Emily's voice strayed to a hush, her heart swelling with emotion as they unraveled more letters. A narrative bloomed in front of them, a narrative of love, loss, dreams, and reconciliation. Each letter weaved together stories from neighbors' hearts, speaking of a time when supporting one another was not just a thought, but a way of life. "Mom, this is incredible," Jake said, his excitement palpable as he flipped the box around. He carefully opened the ornate lid, revealing a set of keys nestled within. These must be the keys Margaret mentioned. She believed in love that unlocked lives. What if these keys lead to more than just doors? Clara speculated, her imagination running wild. What if they lead to unity, to connection? Emily nodded thoughtfully, feeling her pulse quicken as she considered the implications. "This is our chance to create what was once lost, to let their voices guide us." With newfound resolve, they stuffed the precious letters back into her backpack and collected the keys, the weight of history now resting in their hands. Together, they filed back into the first room, glancing once more at the photograph before closing the secret compartment behind them, sealing away the past yet carrying it with them into the present. The load of understanding transformed Emily. The worries she had once clutched so tightly scattered like leaves in the autumn wind. They were branching out from her own troubles, repairing the threads between families in their community with each step. "Let us gather everyone," she said, a radiant smile crossing her face. "We need to share Margaret and Thomas's story, show them that this connection is alive and well." The trio raced back down the stairs, laughter spilling from their lips, their hearts lighter than air. Outside, the sun bathed the neighborhood in golden hues, igniting hope in the hearts of everyone they passed. Gathering their neighbors was a beautiful whirlwind of phone calls and messages sent, word spreading through the community like wildfire. When the time came, their living room swelled with familiar faces, the air thick with excitement and camaraderie. "Quiet down, everyone," Emily called as they settled in, her voice filled with a warm authority. "We have a story to tell, a story of love that doesn't just reflect the past but pulses through us today." As she began to share the emergence of the letters, the room lit up. Her community was visibly moved. Together they laughed, cried, and reminisced about their own histories, of struggles shared over warm meals and carefree laughter. The energy shifted, transforming the gathering from a mere neighborhood meeting into a celebration of unity, a course correction for their collective spirit. And finally, Emily placed the ornate keys before them. "These hold our future," she declared, her eyes gleaming. "Let us promise each other that we will cherish our stories, that we will weave them together to nurture both our past and future." Their voices rose in powerful affirmation, a chorus of commitment that resonated within the walls of her home, within the walls of their hearts. Jake leaned into Emily, feeling her strength. "We did it, Mom." "Yes, we did," she whispered, tears of pure joy bubbling in her eyes. At that moment, Emily realized that not only had they revived the spirits of the past, but they had unearthed the light that resided within them all, a profound sense of belonging, of family. They were no longer just neighbors, they were guided by shared dreams, unified by love. As the evening draped itself in the comforting arms of twilight, laughter mingled with the shimmer of hope, a tapestry sewn from tiny threads of kindness, testimony, and joy. This was the moment they would remember. Not merely a food drive, but a bridge linking past and present, a promise for a future abundant with compassion and love. And as she looked around at those gathered in her living room, the weight of worries lifted effortlessly from her shoulders, replaced by the warmth of solidarity. The echoes of Margaret and Thomas spun through the air like confetti, sparkling with the potential of what lay ahead. And so, as the last of the sun dipped beyond the horizon, a spark ignited in their hearts, a shared commitment to uplift one another, reinforcing that in the end, they were indeed stronger together, forever connected by the beautiful tapestry they continued to weave. What an inspiring moment to witness. You need to subscribe now to never miss exclusive stories like this one. Stories that uplift and inspire. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every click matters to us. Comment below with your reactions and feelings. What moment touched your heart the most? Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Together, let us flood the world with love and kindness.